Okay, so as always, I want to thank so much our speaker. Um, um, I think that as a group, we've all learned that learning about and being taught by so many different types of women and seeing different stories has really increased our absolute love of Jewish women and and the eclectic nature of what we've been exposed to is something that I don't think has ever has ever been out there. So this gift that we've been given is really, we want to thank Hashem. So I want to introduce Chaiya Rivkah Channah Holtzberg, born and bred in Canada. Her father, shalom, was a non-practicing Jew. Her mother was a Christian. Chaiya Rivkah converted in 1984, but it was only after a life-threatening car accident in 2008 that she found true meaning in life and delved into the depth of what it truly means to be a Jew. She's an adventurous spirit. She's jumped out of a perfectly good airplane. She spent 5 months living in the wilderness of Alaska, and in 2019 made aliyah alone at the age of 57. She's a writer by profession, but her passion is inspirational speaking, and of course, learning Talmud, Parsha, and Chassidus. This will be her first Zoom shiur as she prefers to speak in person. So please be patient. She's a little nervous. So I feel very privileged. Chaiya Rivkah, you have to unmute and you have to also open up your camera. There you are.
Shalom, shalom, how are you?
Hi, Chaiya Rivkah, so nice to meet you. And we want to hear a little bit of your journey to Yiddishkeit. We don't have to hear all the way back, but a little bit, because it inspires all of us. So thank you so much. And first of all, how is the Holtzberg family?
Wow, it's been very, very intense. Just a week and a half ago, we had 3 deaths in our very close family. One of them was Tzvi Kogan. He was married to the daughter of our cousin. And then my sister-in-law's granddaughter was Nifter from the Machla. She was 16. And then 2 days later, my sister-in-law passed away. And it was just like all within less than a week. And then a couple of days after that, it was the yahrzeit of Gabby, who, of course, he and his wife were murdered in Mumbai in 2008. So it was their yahrzeit. So it was really a very challenging time. And of course, we're all going through challenging times. However, it's absolutely necessary to see the light, and there is always light. We always have to remember this. There is always light, and we have to remember, okay, listen, Hashem has a perfect plan, and I'm part of that. And whatever he gives me, I have to take, and I still have to have joy with all the sadness and all the challenges. There has to be a core of joy that we draw on in these times. And we're not at war right now. I don't believe we're in a war. Israel is not at war. We're in the Gula process. And we know it's going to be tough, but we are tougher. We have survived everything over the last few millennia. And we're going to come out of this on top. So stay strong, ladies. Stay strong.
So just tell us a little bit how you came to Yiddishkeit, how you came to, just a little bit before you go into speech, just a little bit, because it's so unbelievable. It's so remarkable. It's hard enough being born into it.
Well, as you mentioned, my father, shalom, was Jewish, and I knew my Bubby and my Zaidi, and they passed when I was quite young. But I remember visiting my Bubby one time when I was either 10 or 11, and she lived up on the 16th floor of an apartment building in Toronto, and like right in the center, like Yid Central. Okay, you could watch everybody going by, and it was a Shabbat day, and I remember being in the living room and everybody was talking. I was bored out of my mind. I was a kid, and I went out onto the balcony and I looked over down into the street, and it was, like I said, it was Shabbat, and I could see these Hasidim walking to shul, and there were these men in their strimals and their long black coats, and the women, and all these children, and there was literally, it sounds crazy, but it was like there was some kind of shift in the cosmos, and I felt like some kind of a surge, and I was like, wow, this is my family, that's my family, what am I doing with these people who I really, really, I hate to say it, but I hated my family. I had a very, very, very difficult child. It was very, very brutal. And I was like, why am I not with these people? This is my family. And so so from there, I just always identified as a Jew, although I wasn't, obviously. And after my mother died, I was forced to go to a church when I was young, and it was a very, very wicked kind of a church. They were Pentecostals, and they were into casting demons out of people. It was very scary as a child. And my mother was taken when I was 17. And right away, I started to try to find a rabbi so I could figure out who I really was. And eventually at 21, I converted. And that's a very, very, very long story between then and now, and between then and 2008. But here we are today. That's a little bit of how I came to Yiddishkeit. And actually, the accident that I had in 2008, I was really not practicing anything at all. I was just, like I said, identifying as a Jew. By that time, it was decades later, of course, from 84 to 2008. And an 18-wheeler had hit my car and was dragging me underneath, and my car was being crushed. And it was happening in slow motion. And suddenly I was gone. That was it. And there was nothing. There was just like darkness, but it wasn't dark. There was no light shining. But all I was doing was screaming and screaming, Hashem, what have I done? I've wasted my life. I'm finished. I'm finished. What have I done? What have I done? And he brought me back, and I got a second chance. And I changed my life completely. I sold my house. I broke up with the guy that I was dating. I was in agony. The first 5 years were brutal, brutal physical pain. But Hashem got me through it. And I found Chabad.org, and I started to learn, and here we are.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. Wow. Really amazing.
Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem.
Wow. Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. Chaiya Rivkah. Go ahead. Wow.
So, like I said, I do a little bit of motivational speaking. I love to speak, and it's a big responsibility speaking, but every one of us has the responsibility to speak justice. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov says we must always speak justice. So what does this mean? It means we must speak the truth. And it doesn't mean we always have to be speaking words of Torah. Of course, this is our main focus, of course, to spread Torah and light to the world. But on the average day, as we're going about our business, we must refine our speech. And this is getting rid of exaggeration. And of course, Lashon Hara. I don't want to talk about Lashon Hara, because that's been covered many, many times. And I think we probably all know most of the laws of Lashon Hara. If you don't, Sefer Chofetz Chaim, daily study. It's amazing. If you've read it once, you got to read it another 100 times. So really, it's about being super sensitive about what we say, when we say it, and to whom we're speaking when we talk. There are so many times that I hear someone else say something to someone, and I think, wow, how could you say that to that person? And I hear these things coming out of my own mouth too sometimes. I say something and I'm like, I can't believe I said that. And now what am I going to do? How am I going to retract those words? I've probably just crushed this person with my thoughtless sentence or a comment or whatever it was. And now what am I going to do? So the first thing I really want to address is that we're not here to go around correcting other people's midot. We're not here to go around and say, you know what, you're really not washing your hands properly. Natilat Yadayim, you really should do it like this. We're not here to do that. But I see people doing it constantly. And I can tell you, as someone, now I was going to say, as a convert, but I'm not a convert. I'm a Jew who converted. And I think this is a big issue. Don't call someone who converted, oh, you're a convert. No, you're not. They're not a convert. They are a Jew who converted. It's a big thing, and it's a label that I think we have to get rid of. So you have to be sensitive to this also. It's like going up and asking someone, so do you have children? This is really not a good idea. I'm childless, okay? And it's taken me a long time, decades, to come to terms with that. And all the time, wherever I go, people say, oh, so do you have children? And, it's hard. So these are the things, the kinds of things that I wanted to talk about, of being aware of what we're saying and when we're saying and who we're talking to. If you know someone has children, you can ask them how their children are doing. But to walk up to someone you don't really know and say, so do you have children? This is a really, really serious thing. And it's such a great opening conversation between women, right? It's not. It can really devastate someone. And the number of times, hundreds of times, that I've had to say, no, I'm sorry, I don't have children. Oh, really? And then some people actually say, well, gee, why not? It's like, okay, just because I don't have children now doesn't mean I was never pregnant, doesn't mean I never had a miscarriage. And I know women who had children, who had many children, and they've lost them all. So just because they don't have children now doesn't mean they never did. So like why you don't have children is really no one else's business. And it's a very, very sensitive subject. So I really want to impress on everyone. This is such a common question amongst us all. And it's something that I think I would really love you to never ask another woman ever again, because you just don't know how difficult it is when you don't have children to keep saying, no, I don't have children. No, I don't have children. Right. And the whole convert issue. Sometimes when people find out that I converted, they'll say, oh, I thought so. It's like, wow, what does that mean? Or it's like, you know what? Now I understand. I'm like, what do you mean? Now you understand why you're always so excited about Hashem. So people that didn't convert aren't excited about Hashem. Oh, now I know why you study all the time. Or people, as soon as they find out that I converted, they'll say, oh, so, and they'll have known me for months and we have studied together for months. And they'll say, well, have you ever heard of Rambam? Or do you know Rashi? And it's like, well, of course I do. Anyway, those are some of my pet peeves and things that I have spoken to other women about who are in similar situations, childless or who have converted. And they get these kinds of questions and responses and treatment a lot of the time. And I think we have to be very, very, very careful to this. The other thing I wanted to bring up, I'm going to sort of fly from topic to topic here because there's so much I'd like to cover, but I'd just like to make some salient points. And one of the things is what I notice is we're in a time of communication when conversation is almost a thing of the past. Conversation and connection has been replaced by memes, emojis, and texting. Little short text. Nobody even wants to listen to a message that's more than 35 or 40 seconds long anymore. Like if I send someone a voice message on WhatsApp that's maybe a minute and a half, they're like, I don't have time to listen to this. Wow. This is not the age of communication. This is the age of total disconnection and non-communication. And it's a big problem. And therefore, I think refining our speech is all the more important, because if someone's only going to listen to 20 seconds of what we say, it had better be something good. And it had better be the truth, and it better not be some great, gross exaggeration. And I do it. I find myself doing it. The other day, I was driving back with my husband back from Harish. We were visiting for Shabbat, and I stopped at a gas station. I went in and I wanted to buy some drinks for us. And there were probably like 50 or 60 people in line, literally in front of me. So I didn't buy anything. I went back and I got into the car and I said, oh, you can't imagine, there were like 1 billion people in there. No. We exaggerate all the time. And this is something that children and teenagers tend to do. And it used to be corrected. Parents used to correct their children from exaggeration. And I remember my father, Shalom, always used to say, I've told you 1,000,000 times not to exaggerate, to try to emphasize the idea. So I think we have to be very careful about exaggeration, because the other thing I found with exaggeration in my own personal experience is when we over exaggerate something, especially the negative things, like it took me 3 years to get through to the person that I was trying to get through when I wanted to try to pay my bill or tried to get through to the bank or whatever. And it really emphasizes how negative that experience was. If we just say, you know what, it took me 20 minutes. So like, it was a real drag, but I got to move on. But exaggeration, I noticed that the less I exaggerate, the more balanced I feel, the more on an even keel my day feels. And I would love to challenge everyone here to just notice when you're exaggerating for the good and when you're exaggerating for the negative, and how often we do it. And I think it's also really indicative of our times that everything's so exaggerated that nothing seems to be real and true anymore. So getting back to speaking only words of truth, speaking justice, is really, really imperative, especially now. We are in, like I said, I don't think we're in a time of war. We're in the Geula. I think everyone agrees that we're in the very, 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 coming very close to Mashiach, and refining ourselves is very difficult. But I personally, and I've spoken to other women about this, the more we refine our speech, the more we refine our behavior. One follows the other. It's just like when you begin to dress in a very tzniut way, tznius way, right? You start practicing tzniut, and it changes your behavior automatically. Even when you're going out somewhere extra special, like to a chasana, and you put on that extra special dress, you behave in a little bit of a different way. You walk nicer, you tend to, feel better. And the refining of the speech also has a big effect on our behavior. And it really does elevate my joy, and it elevates my sense of positivity when I go through my day and I stop myself from exaggerating, and when I stop myself from saying something negative when I don't have to. And another issue, I'm sorry I'm going all over the place, but I really would like to get these points in, is we are not here to go around correcting other people, as I said before. We're here to refine ourselves. And I see it very often. And I had a situation just a few months ago. I recently got married in July. And I had a situation with a woman who we became very good friends very quickly. We didn't even know each other. We were connecting on WhatsApp. And she just started to take over my life and tell me every single thing that she thought I was maybe doing wrong. And it got to the point where I had to discuss it with her. So how do we do this? How do we address someone who's really, really been kind of picking on us or irritating us or constantly trying to make suggestions or changing us or giving us all these little tips that we should be doing? Really, you need to speak to a Rav or a Rebbitzin and say, listen, how should I deal with this situation? Because how I would deal with it may not be the right way. And I've been trying to practice this for quite a long time, and to refine how I address these issues, because I've had some serious issues with people over the years. And I think definitely contacting your Rebbitzin or your Rav is absolutely essential. And of course, if you see someone who's really doing something that they really, really shouldn't be doing, or they're doing something incorrectly and they have no idea that they're doing it incorrectly, you need to speak to someone about how to approach them and whether you're the right person to approach them. You don't tell the Rav or the Rebbitzin or whoever the name of the person. You say, listen, I know someone and I really feel like this person needs to be corrected. They're a great person. They're wonderful. Their Yiddishkeit is amazing, but they keep doing this one thing, and it's they shouldn't be doing it. And I know it's a slight avera. Am I making any sense? Can someone chime in and tell me whether I may? Yes. Okay.
So you know what? Also, I think that our generation, I think we're a very bit of we're a different type of generation. and I say this all the time in our discussions, I think that our generation, I don't think we have the ability to give tochecha to anybody else. And because unless there's somebody very, very close to you, and it's somebody that you can come from a place of love, I think it's a very different story. But you see, most things, even when we correct someone, is coming from a place of ego. Because really what it is we're telling somebody else something that we believe should be different. And I don't know if we have the ability, to really come from that very, very deep place of love. And I think because of that, I think we have, I don't know if we have the ability in this generation to really go give tochecha. And I also think that this generation is a generation that, and I'm not saying this as a woke way, because I'm a very non-woke person, but I think that this generation is also a generation that that has a lot of pain. And everybody who knows me knows that I'm a great fan of Rebbetzin Tukachinsky, and she basically explains that as we're getting closer to Mashiach, we are the generation that is mamish, like standing in front of our soul. We are the generation that's facing every emotion, every single thing. And therefore, because it's so much in our face, and we're the generation to really, because in order to greet Mashiach, we really have to be so centered in who we are and not all the things we think that surround us, is that we are a generation that, is trying to heal all the generational wounds and all the wounds. And therefore, once we do that, and that's what I think that most of us miss, is that once everybody comes to that place of personal love and personal healing, that what will happen is those things that supposedly we're doing wrong will really correct themselves, because as we won't have to hold on or attached to those parts of ourselves. We'll really be so in our neshama that everything will just naturally be more natural to us. So I think that's a big thing with tochecha, and I think it's a very hard call. You know what I mean? I think that I think it's something that when we can really love that person in a very deep way and come from that place, and maybe a little bit. We all, we see that, but I think it's a hard thing.
It is.
That's just my opinion, but.
No, you're absolutely right. And the other thing is, the more good we can see in ourselves, which is very important, ladies. You are beautiful. You are powerful. You are awesome. You are a child of Hashem, and he thinks you rock, and you do, okay? So you see the good in yourself, and the more good you see in yourself, the more you're going to see good in other people. And I literally had something escalate with someone recently, and it just got to the point where I just finally had to say to her, listen, you know what? I love you so much. You're amazing, but you please have to stop giving me all these suggestions and telling me every little thing. I had driven on these crazy roads up to Beitar. It was a long, harrowing drive. I don't know if you've ever done it, but it's like hairpin turns. The traffic is insane. I was extremely tired. It was right before Shabbat. I sent her a message and some pictures of a friend that I was visiting there, because it was her best friend and all this stuff. So I sent a picture of this other lady and I. And the only thing she sent back to me was, you have hair sticking out of the back of your tail. And I just thought, I cannot take this anymore, because this was after so many, the same day, all these things, one after the other after the other. So I sent her a polite message, but I said, you really have to stop this. I said, I understand that you're really trying to help me, but I have been from for many years now. And, my husband doesn't mind that there's a hair or two sticking out from the back of my tichel. And could you please just not do this? And it got so escalated that she went to her husband, and her husband called me after Shabbat and said, no, her intentions are good. I said, you know what? I'm sure her intentions are good, but intentions are not good enough. Intentions are all about me. My intentions, it plays no attention on what you are going to feel when my good intention hits you out of the blue, right? Good intentions, I think even there's a saying in the secular world, the highway to hell is paved with good intentions. It's just good intentions don't cut it. Your intentions can be great. Your motivations can be absolutely pure and wonderful. It doesn't mean that you have the right even to go and say something to somebody because you have no idea what's going on. And maybe they're a totally strong person 99% of the time, but they could be having a really very fragile moment.
Right.
And you
Right,
can blow somebody away and destroy their day, their week. It can be echoing inside their head for decades, what you say to them. So please, ladies, be very, very careful.
No, 100%, 100%. It's so true what you said in terms of, we talk a lot about lashon hara, and we talk about those things, but everything that comes out of our mouth is so important. It's almost like someone once said to me, it's like when you're about to say something, instead of being in your head, just go straight to your heart. And if you go straight to your heart and you look at that person from that place of heart, then you probably won't say what you were about to say. And it's just so true. And it's something that we all have to work on because, and I think, again, a lot of it has to do with really everybody coming to their own place of personal healing and but it's such an important thing. And exaggeration, you're so right. Like Hashem is all truth, and He just wants truth from us. And but you know what? It's also that we have to. I think we also have to give ourselves a lot of hakaras hatov that we're trying, as long as we're trying, and that's. And be aware that we're more than what we think we are. Do you know what I'm saying? Does anybody else want to ask any questions or anything? Anybody want to contribute to the conversation?
I had my hand up. I guess you can't see me because there's a lot of women. Hi, Chaiya Rivkah, how are you?
Baruch Hashem, darling, how are you?
Baruch Hashem. I mean, we're personal friends. It's the first time I'm seeing you as a newly remarried woman, and it's really giving me a lot of nachas. Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem.
So thank you for coming to speak. I do have a question. I'm sorry, I had to take a very urgent call earlier, so I don't know if you said anything about the halachas of lashon hara, but there's a question that I've had. It's not, I don't know if it's so much of a halachic question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. When we speak to each other, women, I don't know about men, I really don't know about men, but when we speak to each other and we bring up like something that happened to us, there was a painful interaction like you were describing, and you mentioned the person's name, it just came out like you were already talking about her, let's say, and then well, you shouldn't be talking about her. I guess that's the whole point.
Right.
But my point is that women do that in order to learn how to deal with the situation, right? You're feeling pain because of something that happened, and you're confiding in a friend.
So is your question, Toby, is that something that halachically is allowed? Chaiya Rivkah, do you want to answer the question? Like, where do you draw the line between being able to express your pain to somebody and the halachas of lashon hara? So I think that's what Toby's trying to ask. Chaiya Rivkah?
So I'm not really an expert on
Right.
all the laws of lashon hara, but it gets tricky because you might be talking about someone. You could say, "Oh, I saw Malika the other day, and we went out for lunch, and she's great, isn't she amazing?" And then you might just say, "Yeah, but you know what? She kind of hurt my feelings by saying this, that, and the other thing." Even that is a little bit of lashon hara. And I think, yes, women have to talk to each other, but I think if you need to talk to someone about something that someone has done to you, you need to speak to someone who doesn't know the other person, not mention their name, and ask, like, speak it out like you really need advice. So a mashpia, a rebbitzin, someone like that. But like literally having this book, Sefer Chavetz Chaim, you can look all the halachas up. It's like day by
Right.
day.
If I could just jump back in, please, because I didn't have so much a question as something that I was trying to say. So may I please have the opportunity to just finish that
Sorry,
thought?
sure, sorry,
No,
darling.
it's okay. I think that, we beat ourselves up for a lot. I mean, I do. And I'm just trying to say that when women speak to each other and it comes up and something painful happened and you end up discussing it and so on. First of all, I would say that comes under the heading of litoelet. Litoelet means if you have a good purpose, you want to learn how to correct the situation. You want to be able to have a friendship with this person. You don't know how to deal with whatever. And when these things happen, I mean, especially if it happens a lot, I mean, I'm guilty of it, okay? And I just want people, I don't want people to feel like they're terrible because of it. I sometimes I hear about like how severe it is if you speak any Lashon Hara.
So
And
I think Toby, I think that I think that I think that you made a really good point, and I think it's very, very important for women to be able to speak out their pain. And you can pick a person. I don't think anybody should feel terrible. I think that if people feel terrible, I think it's something that they have to work on themselves. I think that's all personal self-healing. I think when we feel terrible about something, it's something that we have to really identify is what is the need that's not being met, et cetera, that is making us feel terrible. I don't think anybody can make us feel terrible, or any one thing can make us feel terrible. I think it's the way we identify to that thing and how we identify ourselves. So I think the more self-healing that we do, but I do agree with you that women have to feel comfortable being able to talk things out and talk out their hearts. And you have to speak to people who, who you are somech on, who and trust yourself and trust the person that you're somech on to get the advice that you need. That's what I think. But I think this is a whole different topic of going into the halachas of speech and Lashon Hara. I think really what we really hit on today, and I don't mean to cut us short, but my son asked me to drive him to the train station. But I think that what we really hit on today is that speech is more than just those things. Speech is really becoming aware of other people's feelings and really being very, very careful about what comes into our mouth and the questions we ask, and just being much more of a conscious person, being more conscious of being more conscious of other people's feelings or where they're coming from, right? And trying to be more sensitive towards each other. And then using our speech in terms of how Chaiya Rivkah mentioned, in terms of exaggeration, really, really starting to look at our speech and what comes out and trying. And she talked about the disconnect that we have today. And I think that's a very, very big thing. But that's a discussion another time. So I really have to leave, and we have to say the tefillah for the soldiers. I see there's one more. If that question, if it's okay, I'm so sorry, but and I really want to make sure we dive in for the soldiers before we get off, because it's very, very important to me. Chaiya Rivkah, this was very, very beautiful. We wish your family all the bracha. They should have so much nechama. Mamish, the Holtzberg family, everything that they've done for Am Yisrael is unbelievably incredible. And Hashem should just bring simcha all of them, and to really Nechama. And I want to tell you, Chaiya Rivkah, that you are a magnificent Jew. And
Baruch
you are a
Hashem.
magnificent woman Jew. I have to put in the woman part.
Baruch Hashem.
And we are so grateful to learn from you, and to hear from you, and to soak in your beautiful neshama. And thank you so much. And I'm so sorry, everyone. Please stay on just to hear the tefillah for the soldiers. Our soldiers, we lost 7 in the last 2 days. These are people's husbands, their fathers, their sons, their brothers. And we need to daven for them. It has to stop, this madness of loss of life, this madness of loss of ability with legs and limbs. Mamish, Hashem has to show us his rachamim in the most revealed way. So we're just gonna thank you again, Chaiya Rivkah. We have we're gonna continue davening tomorrow, and Thursday we have Neely. If you can stay on for 2 more seconds, Ruti is going to do the